for everything esports and gaming. I'm your girl Camille, back from E3, and although it was crazy and lots of fun, I'm so happy to be here with you. Tonight in Unmuted, we have AJ and Lisa going head-to-head, giving us their takes on the top stories, Twitch clips, tweets from pros, and fan creations. Then in Esports in 30, Matt and Lisa are calling Azael to talk LCS Summer Split Week 3. But first, let's rev our engines and head over to Trailers on Trial to check out Crash Team Racing.
Elbows. Elbows.
Are we watching a driving game? I don't know about this. Me driving in real life is already rough. Maybe I'll do better in game.
Okay, Crash Team Racing? Yeah, all right, I guess we can watch.
So is Crash Team Racing like a thing from like Crash Bandicoot? Because I'm too young for that. I never played Crash Bandicoot.
All right, so Crash Team Racing is coming back like every single game that we've played from our childhood. Is this something that we should get used to? Is this what we want?
It's time. You've all been waiting for this. Ever since the early days of the PS1, Crash Team Racing is back.
I like the warning for cartoon violence because that makes it okay.
It's just so colorful, I love it.
The little butterfly. Oh, jeez.
Did they just wreck the bug?
It's so pretty.
Greetings, creatures of this planet. I come to compete.
Wait, aliens are coming to compete?
Okay, like I never care about the stories in these games. I just care about the art style.
Why does there always have to be something to do with like extraterrestrial alien? Like I get they have to bring in all the characters, but
Stars looking for creatures to test my skills.
Although when you're older, you realize how stupid some of these names and plot lines are in these games.
I challenge the best driver of your world to a race for the planet. If you
Race for the planet.
I'll leave you miserable
Those are high stakes.
But if I win, I will turn your entire globe into a
concrete parking lot.
How does he pick who to race against? Like, how does he know who the best racer in the world is?
Get ready to
you have to beat him in a race or he's gonna turn the world into concrete.
I bet you there's so much Rule 34 of that character.
Oh my god, the ice levels!
How to drive.
Oh my gosh, seriously, somebody give that book to Lisa.
I don't know what these characters are.
It's so weird because like thinking about playing this game back in the day, like this is what it looked like.
Now I'm gonna be checking this one out. I mean, bring it back. Bring all the good stuff from our childhood back, and this is one of them, so I'm down for it. Anytime, Crash time.
It's good though. It's a good trailer. I'm not gonna play.
I'm so excited for that. The coolest thing is I know somebody that knows some of the devs, and apparently they've been already having a bunch of tournaments themselves in the studio, and the loser has to go back to work. So I'm planning on playing this a lot, and I know you guys are too.
Not gonna play this game because I'm over the age of 12, but if I had kids, maybe, but honestly, I would just let my kids play Super Mario, you know? I feel like if you grew up with obviously Crash Bandicoot, this is a cool game for you.
Not a fan. I don't know. I prefer Mario Kart. I don't have an attachment to Crash Team Racing, but it looked okay. You didn't actually see much racing, or if there's any items usage, or any usage there.
I'm gonna stick to driving on the roads. Sorry guys, watch out. to Unmuted. We got your gaming and esports hot topics, hot tweets, and spiciest memes. I'm Lisa Dwan.
And I'm AJ Fry. We're going to present all the goodies that we've gathered, which we will discuss and most likely argue about it. And I am working with Lisa today. Luckily for all of us, though, there's a mute button that we can each use only once when we want to shut the other up.
That's right, but full disclosure, I don't think I'm going to use it today.
Why is that, Lisa?
Because today, it's a special day. It's AJ's birthday. So we prepared these.
Oh, great.
We're going
to
to keep them on for as long as possible until they get annoying, right? How does that look?
There.
Our director's not happy right now. All right, so in chat, I want you guys to spam happy birthday right now for AJ. And remember, we like it when you call us out when we're wrong and praise us when we're spitting truth. That kind of hurt, actually. So let's get right to it. Let's start things off with a brand new Twitch lawsuit. Twitch has filed a lawsuit against multiple spammers and trolls who began streaming pornography, gore, and copyrighted content to the Artifact Twitch category last month. At the time, multiple people began creating new accounts over and over to flood the channel with these videos. The list of streamers is currently anonymous, but Twitch is suing them for trademark infringement, breach of contract, and for unlawful use of the platform. AJ? Okay, that's not the proper way to wear that. But do you think this lawsuit
My birthday, I'll wear it how I want.
That is true, that is true. Anything goes for you, AJ. Do you think this lawsuit would go anywhere? And do you think, like, Twitch, what can Twitch do to prevent this from happening again?
I mean, there's little that you can do to prevent people from abusing your system that has been established in this way. Oh, that looks good. Okay. But, I mean, by setting this precedent of going after these people by what means you have available to you, I think they are at least doing something to appear that they are trying to do something in the public eye. And by listing them as anonymous, at least if we can discover who these actual people are, then they can bring this lawsuit against them. I think ultimately it's a good thing. Will it be all that fruitful?
I mean, yeah, these guys can literally just make new accounts in the future, even if they're banned, right? So, like, how do we really stop them from doing this again?
And the people who want to do this kind of thing are prepared. I had one guy show up in my channel once, and he just started acting weird and asking these odd questions, and I was like, you know what? This is just getting bizarre. Ban. I think he's the only person I've ever banned from my channel. But within, I forget, it was like asking for money or something. It was just odd behavior. And then within a few minutes of banning him, there he was again with like 2 next to his name. And I was like, mods, can we just get banned? And then within a minute, 3 next to his name. And 4 and 5 and 6. That many accounts this guy has. Like, this must be a thing that he does. He just goes and trolls channels.
That's amazing. The funniest part, though, is that this happened in the Artifact channel. Like, that's a dead channel. Like,
well, that's why the
You think that's why they did that?
Go there just to have fun with it. Like, this is where we can go.
Some people just want to see the world burn. Like, what's the point? No one's seeing it anyways, really.
Yeah.
You know?
Shall we move on?
I think we should.
Yeah.
Enough pornography for Monday.
Not much more to say about that. Let's take these silly hats off first.
Okay.
All right. Speaking of lawsuits, Tifu's lawyer provided an update on his client's ongoing lawsuit against FaZe Clan. Speaking to the Score Esports attorney Brian J. Friedman said that FaZe Clan's statement that they only made $60,000 off of Tifu is complete fiction, and that the actual amount was likely in the millions. He also pointed out that Tifu's contract included a clause that said that if Tifu were to leave FaZe, he could not stream or make videos about video games for 6 months, as being completely out of line. I would have to agree with that. Lisa, what's your take on this one? Do you think FaZe made more than $60,000 off of Tifu?
I'm sure they made so much money off of him. But the point of this story that I think is more interesting is that whole last bit, which is basically what, a non-compete, non-competition. That's completely that's like so cruel against someone who's in this business. For them to add that in their contract for his job, that is completely bad faith. And I'm so disappointed.
I can understand that kind of clause for certain things. Like, remember years ago there was an actor who was the face of PlayStation in all their commercial campaigns. Like, that guy was like pretending to be like the president of PlayStation.
No, what year was this?
Oh, it was a long time ago. It's my 36th birthday.
Happy birthday!
You just gotta remember back before. Anyway, like if that guy suddenly then went and did like Nintendo commercials last time or Xbox commercials, that makes sense.
Yes.
But if you're someone who exists in the esports gaming scene and your whole industry or your whole career is around games, you know, maybe a 1 week non-compete, like take a cool-off period,
Yeah.
but like 6 months?
Yeah, no.
That's bonkers.
He'd be losing millions of dollars in that
Yeah.
case. But you know what? This is maybe FaZe saying, you are the face of our team. You know, like the fact, if you can join another team now, that would actually hurt our brand. Like, in a way, it's kind of like a compliment to Tfue that you were this big of a deal for us that we want to block you from helping another team the same way.
Yeah,
You know? It's
but-
kind of like that.
But now the whole thing has just hurt them
No, yeah, no.
both in a way. Like, I just
FaZe has really messed
back
up with
away
how
from
they
all
dealt
of
with
this.
this. The
Yeah.
clause doesn't make sense. The way they approached it, the guy Banks, who apparently doesn't even have anything to really do with this.
Right.
Slasher, in an interview we did with him, he was like, Banks has nothing to do with this. I don't know why he went out to like call out Tfue the way he did. If you follow the tweets, like
Right.
this whole situation just shows how FaZe, the organizers, are so immature. They're petty. And this is not going to be good for them. This is actually going to hurt them down the long run. No one's going to
Right.
want to join your team, guys.
Everyone should just
What the hell?
walk away. at
Walk
this
away.
point.
Let's walk away from this topic because it's getting me fired up.
Agreed.
All right. E3 2019 came and went last week, and the video game industry is slowly beginning to talk about the event's relevance. Journalists and gaming personalities alike took to Twitter to talk about this year's E3, which many viewed as disappointing. The lack of Sony, large amounts of empty floor space, and a lack of big-name video games being shown have led some to believe that E3 needs to change in order to thrive again. Unicorn.
Yes.
What do you think about this? You went to E3. How did you feel being on the floor? Did it feel lackluster? Or?
It felt very different than in years past, I gotta say, especially with the lack of Sony and Xbox moving to their Microsoft Theater just
Yeah.
around the corner. It was pretty cool to be in the Microsoft Theater, gotta say. They did a good job of dressing it and having cool things for you to do and play there. But to not be able to just walk into the Microsoft or Xbox booth, to not be
Yeah.
able to walk into the PlayStation booth, so much of what E3 was that availability of games. And honestly, I was there and I think I played 5 games at E3
Total?
this year. Total. Like there
In,
was
like, the
just
week that you were
yeah,
there?
there just weren't a lot of opportunities unless you wanted to wait in gigantic lines. Whereas it was often the Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation booths where you could go and they would have demos that didn't have insanely long lines. You might just be able to like, oh, there's one guy on that system. I'll just go stand behind that
Yeah.
person and play the game afterwards. So with them being gone or different, it does feel like a very different vibe. And since 2017, they've started adding these gamer badges, which is what I had this year, thanks Nintendo Canada. But it's still 15,000 gamer badges. It does flood the floor with even more people, adding more pressure onto these lines. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see whether E3 sustains itself as the mecca of all things gaming for the years to come. I'm sure we'll get another couple, but I wouldn't be surprised by if like 2022 or something,
Yeah.
it's entirely different.
Do you think, like, what needs to be changed, do you think? Because maybe the events, like, you know how Microsoft has their own thing? Maybe
Yeah.
they need to actually just host an event separately, like another week or
It
2 weeks
seems
later.
like PlayStation is likely going to be doing that to announce their PlayStation 5, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the big players, like Blizzard already has BlizzCon, it may be that we transition to this where the companies that have the money to do it just hold their own events to do their own promotions moving forward.
Segregation again. I don't know how I feel about that.
It's where fans can go to get what they want. And what we want for our last story here are tons of storefronts in the digital space are now potentially coming together. Things like Steam, Epic Games, Battle.net, to name a few. And now there's one storefront changing its way, and that is GOG Galaxy. They plan to revamp into a launcher that lets players view every game they own on every storefront in one place. It's an ambitious proposal, and it's also received official support from Microsoft, and GOG plans to negotiate with other launchers over the next year to make this dream a reality. You got there? Because I'm a PC gamer primarily.
Yeah.
I've got Battle.net. I've
Yes.
got Uplay. I've
Yeah,
got Steam.
yeah.
I've got Origin. I've got EA.
Weird flex over here.
Well, you have to have all
I know,
of
I
those, though,
know, I
if you're
know.
serious about gaming. And I feel like I'm missing out on things. I mean, Minecraft has its own launcher. Like, there's so many things out there, and it's like, why do I have to have all these different apps? Discord is another one.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It should just be one thing. Reduce the processing power on my PC.
For
Get all
sure.
my friends list in one place, and it's pretty cool that they are trying to do this. But I feel like this was the dream of Steam from the get-go. So
Yeah, to combine it all into one where it's easy, but now
Yeah.
everyone has their own launcher.
So now they all have
how
their
do we
own
bring
one
them
where it's
together?
easy. So it's just like,
You know what? I actually. Okay, I agree with you. It's actually a lot of different launchers, and it actually deters me from playing games. There's times I'm like, I'm bored. I want to play a game, Rainbow Six, but then I have to update, and then
That's the thing,
like then
too.
it becomes too much work. Now I'm just gonna sit on my couch and scroll on my phone.
Exactly.
And that's why we should go into mobile gaming.
Ah.
No, I'm joking. I'm trolling. That wasn't real.
Apparently, you're not a real gamer if you're a mobile.
Okay, whoa.
We didn't even talk about Dr. Disrespect at E3. Did you guys cover that on the show last week? I guess because that's when it happened.
Yeah, last week when disrespected the people in the bathroom and got banned, we totally talked about it.
Okay.
Did you bump into the doctor?
No, I didn't see him while I was there. I mean, it was so
because you
many-
weren't hanging in the bathrooms, probably.
Exactly. Yeah, no. Definitely didn't do that.
Okay, let's move on before I get in trouble. It's time to check in with streamers and clip it. First up, Soda Poppin' and friends were taking part in a live battle royale when S1 came up with the plan.
Okay, well, here's what we're gonna have to do.
Okay.
I've already actually mapped out the whole place.
You did?
At that time, whenever I said my backpack broke, it didn't break.
Okay.
I lied. I went and I Google Maps the entire place. I've got a blueprint written out.
Okay.
In approximately a 1.7 kilometer by 1.7 kilometer area.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we gonna do about it? Any plans with the kilometer distance map?
Here's the problem. Is most of the map was in Swedish, so I don't quite understand.
He was so smart. It was like a 2000 IQ play until, what is that, walrus? Like, I don't know what. Okay. We're not gonna let anyone else wear that. That was in your mouth. So that was really smart until I guess the very end when we revealed it was all in Swedish. He couldn't just Google Translate while he was in Google Maps. Like, what the hell was he doing?
It's a pretty easy tab to switch, or like one click away from translation. But yeah, okay, so you've got your topographic map of the area.
Yeah.
And then you got to figure out where you're gonna go. And with this whole live action like battle royale, are they like, is there a ring? Do they bring people in
Right, maybe
together,
there is
or is it
someone,
just
like,
a play space?
timing
Because
it,
otherwise
yeah.
it's just paintball. Like, that's how most paintball works. You're in an area, and you just go through it. The whole thing about battle royale is that it keeps constricting. And
Maybe
bringing
there's a
people
camouflage
together.
technique that you're allowed to do in live battle royale as well. You just like
Oh,
hide
maybe.
and just roll in while the circle closes.
We should have a squad battle royale one day.
How
we could
far do you
play
think you
in
would
the
make it,
studio.
AJ?
Oh, I'd win. I'm a battle royale. I mean, I think
you
it would be
kidding me?
Brody and I probably in the final two.
Are you guys kidding me? You could smell Brody from a mile away.
That's true. Yeah, he
Our
would
camera
be
guy right now is like,
easily
please.
detected. Actually, Zurich would probably.
No, he's good in game. Outside, he's kind of clumsy.
All
That's
right.
a real fact. Sorry,
Lesson
Zurich.
learned. Next up, C_meow decided to do a workout stream with some split jerks, but pay attention to the friendly grandma in the background.
Why don't we take one from the outside of the You see how we're just balancing on one foot?
Just getting shown up there by
Poggers!
someone a few years your senior. No,
So much respect for her.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
barely lift 10 pounds.
I hope I'm like that fit when I'm that age.
Well, that's not going to happen if you don't work out, AJ.
Exactly. I've got to get started now so that by the time I'm older, then I'll do better.
Amazing. I'm
Yeah.
see, like, I feel bad because we're not talking about the main streamer there, but like that grandmother, or if she's
She
even a
did
grandmother,
nothing in that moment.
senior.
She was getting shown up.
Yeah, the other girl was just like tiptoeing, but the woman in the back. Can we interview her? Can we get her on the show?
Yeah, find out what does she do for breakfast? Like, what's her whole health routine?
You want to steal her routine?
Well, you got to start somewhere.
All right, maybe she'll beat you in gaming too.
Probably.
All right, it's time. The best time of the day when we scroll through the Twitterverse to bring you all the things pros bless us from their timeline, including their afterlife hopes and dreams, like this tweet from Dota 2 caster Siraction Slacks. When I die, I hope my ghost is at least a mini boss for Luigi.
I actually got to try the new,
did you?
yeah, Haunted Mansion. It was one of the few games that I got to play. I really liked it. I'm a big Luigi fan myself. Whenever my brother and I used to play Nintendo, I would get stuck playing Luigi.
Aww.
My younger brother is just a bigger guy than you. Like, okay, Mickey, you can be Mario. Makes sense. Eminem. Yeah, the game was awesome. Like cool graphics, fun puzzles. The Gooigi element, I feel like, is just going to be memes.
Yeah.
So many memes around Gooigi.
What's that?
Oh, so in the game, if you need to pass through an obstacle, you basically can summon a second Luigi who is made of goo. He's like this green drippy thing, and he can pass through areas that would otherwise harm Luigi. You can see where this is Going with Guigi.
I was actually thinking, pro player Goichi might have an issue with that in terms of trademark. Hello, he might not be happy with that.
Maybe.
Or maybe that's a spin-off of the meme.
We'll find out.
We're going places.
Here's our next tweet. It's a sad one, and it's from CSGO Pro Eligi. I butchered that. Elige, excuse me. The international is at 18.4 million right now. Jesus, man, literally playing at 1 TI going out in quarters would give you more than what a majority of players have ever made from stickers in CSGO.
Woo!
And it's actually more than that right now. It's 18.7 million. It's gone up since the tweet. It's up like 30% from where it was at this time last year.
That is insane.
It's crazy, the differential between certain esports in terms of their prize pools.
Yeah.
Dota 2, just, man.
But what's
bonkers.
fantastic about Dota 2, like this is all by the fans. This is all by the viewers. This isn't even from Valve. I mean, obviously they're putting money into the beginning, like the base of it, but this is all fan driven.
I feel like this is a model that should maybe be replicated by most other esports organizations.
I know League does a little bit. I think the last year or two, they've also done the same thing for Worlds, where they're like, we're gonna put this amount, and you can, as a fan, buy stuff, and that money goes to the pot.
Yeah.
So like they are implementing it, but Dota as a fan base, that's insane.
It's
the viewer base.
Popular the world over, as of course so many of these are, but yeah, just huge fans all over the place.
All right, our last tweet for today is truly a feels good tweet, as it is from Smash Summit 8 champion Temple Storm Axe. He said, I uncontrollably cried for over an hour straight today. None of this feels real.
He's of course talking about the Toronto Raptors' huge win in the NBA.
I was gonna say I cried last night too, but for different reasons. No, but like this is a big deal for anyone who follows the Smash scene.
Yeah.
Like Axe is fan love. Like you cannot point out anything bad about this guy, and he's always been grinding. He's always like, I can do it, but playing Pikachu, it's hard to win, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that he actually did it this
going
time.
up against so many of his idols
Yes.
in the scene, and then playing Pikachu, just heartfult congratulations.
Someone give this guy an
everyone
anime.
here.
Someone give this guy a cartoon because he is like perfect protagonist material.
Yeah.
I would watch it.
Oh,
Someone
there you go.
Get on it.
The pitch started right here. Let's move on because it's time to check in with some crowd control, and we kick it off with something wholesome. Reddit user Wahunas asked others what their dirty little secret was. I secretly watch my friend's streams and support him without him knowing by using a different account. He gets very few viewers, so I talk to him throughout to keep his spirits up. There you go. Similar Mixture was the user who posted that answer.
That's the sweetest thing. This gives me brings back faith to internet. Like that someone would do that for a friend.
Yeah.
AJ.
I have a friend who secretly watches my streams, but she doesn't.
Well, it's not secretly if you know.
Well, yeah. Well, she was. How do I put this? She was trying to do it covertly, but then I looked at my users, and I was like, I think I know who's using that username.
Yeah. Aww.
Yeah,
did you call her out on it, or you let her do it?
I did, but then maybe she just watches me with the sound off, and that makes me feel even more uncomfortable.
Why? Why does that make you feel weird?
Well, why is she watching me
Your
with the
gameplay,
sound
your
off?
amazing gameplay.
Right, yeah.
I don't know, are you doing like a feet cam? What kind of things are you streaming? Why are you feeling weird about it?
I don't know. If people were watching you. With
They're
no
watching.
sound.
You guys muted right now. You guys can
Who's
watch
watching this show muted? Wait, we could be muted.
Wait.
No.
Okay, I'm getting confused. All right, so last week, Ron and Brody looked at potential transformations for when Kirby sucks up Banjo in Smash, but I think Rubber Ninja's suggestion takes the cake. What the? This is terrifying.
Ay.
This is what nightmares are made of.
Has the banjo, though.
True. With the belt, too? I don't know if the belt's neat. He's not wearing pants.
Can Kazooie reach around and play the
Don't say
band?
reach around. Okay. Sorry. I cannot hear myself. The point is, he's wearing a belt. It's the same with Donald Duck when he wears, the clothes, but he doesn't wear pants.
Right.
Or the towel when he doesn't wear pants anyways or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? But he's, wearing a belt, but he doesn't have pants on, so what's the point?
I don't know.
What's the point?
It looked appropriate, though.
That was really intense.
Inappropriate, all at once.
That was
For our
all
last post, we figured we would edit with something that could make you hurt inside.
Oh, no.
While playing Crash Bandicoot, Squeaksy McGee had the biggest choke of his lifetime.
hurts me so much. That hurt me so much. He was so close.
Yeah, that's a rough one right there. That's hard to walk back.
I'm calling conspiracy theory on that one. He, like, whoever the player
Probably
was,
knew what he was doing.
I think he failed on purpose to make clips like that. Like, his accuracy was too good for the very end to just miss the box completely. Like, he didn't even chip the box.
Yeah.
He fell right through the gap.
Dude's got to stop stealing my style. All the mistakes you guys see me make on stream is for the same reason, you know? And so people clip my epic fails and put them out there because people watch epic fails. So I fail all the time with intention. With intention.
I don't know. The only thing I learned from this episode is that you should watch AJ's stream muted because that's what he likes. All right, that's it for Unmuted. Remember that you can always hit us up on our socials at SquadStay just to say hi or send us stuff to react to. And don't forget to say happy birthday to this guy. We'll see you next time.
Jazzed up a bit in this?
Oh, there's a cuckoo. I better not attack the cuckoo by accident.
Attack it. Just do it. Let's see what happens. Let's just, let's just do it.
All right, fine.
Live on the edge. Live on the
Oh, God.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Here they come.
Oh, no. Yo, that's hard. This should be a... Oh. Oh, no. How many cuckoos? Oh. Sorry, Nick.
Oh, why did you do this?
Nick, I'm sorry. Yo, how many cuckoos are there?
I think it's going to be infinite until I leave the screen.
Until you leave the screen. That's insane. There you go.
I've been waiting for the moment in the green room where we get a little Link action. Although Cadence of Hyrule isn't actually a Zelda game, a full Zelda game, it'll just have to do for now. A quick shout out to you guys for always showing your support through subscribing to us here on Twitch, as well as, you know, getting those sick emotes and dropping them in chat. In a bit, we have Matt and Lisa who's gonna talk to Azael all about League. But first, let me get you caught up on everything you need to know in Reported. With a day to go before Season 10 of the Rainbow Six Siege Pro League kicks off, Team Solomid has entered the Premier Siege competition for the first time ever. The NA org picked up their first Pro League team by acquiring the former roster of Accelerate Gaming. The squad has been looking for a home ever since Accelerate left the scene at the end of Season 9. TSM may be new to the Pro League, but their experience fielding rosters across a huge number of esports will definitely help them out in Siege. The squad itself isn't a bad pickup either. While not a top-performing team, TSM's players are established veterans, and their off-season pickup of Volo makes them a team to watch. Twitch streamers and social media celebrities The Mob have officially signed to 100 Thieves. The Mob, which consists of 4 streamers, where they'll begin to create content for Nadeshot's esports org. The quartet has had a long relationship with Nadeshot, including moderating his Twitch chat years ago and having him appear on their podcast. So the signing makes sense. Let's just hope that the Mob has a much better relationship with 100 Thieves than its former streamer Nick Merckx, who does not hold a lot of love for his former org. As long as they don't ask for a stake in the org, the Mob should do just fine. The second Fortnite Celebrity Pro-Am tournament has ended in spectacular fashion, with Airwalks and music producer RL Grimes taking the top prize. The duo won the first game in the Pro-Am and placed high enough in the remaining 3 games to narrowly take the top spot. Rounding out the top 3 were Aiden and DJ Robert Abisi and Ninja and NBA player Josh Hart. The Pro-Am tournament returned for the second year in a row and featured 50 Fortnite streamers and personalities teaming up with 50 celebrities to earn money for their favorite charities. Other celebrities involved included WWE superstar Xavier Woods, actress Janina Gavankar, and NFL star Marshawn Lynch. Those names are great and all, but I'm really hoping that next year Epic Games recognizes my greatness and sends me an invite.
Goes in, can't get it. Alvaro looking for the slicing master straight onto the back line. Toad is on the front line as Boxer goes down. Patrick takes him out. Now Patrick with the Featherstorm Whipper with a perfect taunt. But the stopwatch is out. New Jack needs to do a lot in this fight because Nemesis is shredding through Origin. There is no escape. There is no surviving. Fnatic, clean sweep Origin.
Not quite able to find the damage onto Sven, who goes on a killing spree, killing that enemy top laner. Sven scaring into the hourglass. Not going to be kept alive too much longer, except he will. It's a kill for Broken Blade on Azael. TSM's got a Quadra. And against many people's expectations, TSM will take down Cloud9 yet again.
Welcome everyone to Esports in 30. I'm Lisa Dwan, this is Matt Hempstead, and we've got another week of League of Legends to talk about, including, get this, 100 Thieves finally picking up their first win. Matt, so what stood out to you this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, the 100 Thieves finally picking that scab off and making it work was very impressive. So, I mean, not very impressive. It was a win that they got against the second worst team in the league. But just because it's a good metaphor, Lisa.
Yeah,
okay, let it happen. It's fine. On top of that, like over in Europe, we see G2 and Fnatic being those two teams that are kind of far and away above everyone else. Meanwhile, the rest of the pack is like tied at 2-2. There's like a 7 or 6 team tie at 2-2. And of course, in the LCS, there's 6 teams tied for first with a 4-2 record. So there's going to be a lot to figure out. Are those the 6 playoff teams that are going to just last until the end, or is a team like Clutch going to make it, or is FlyQuest going to finally figure their stuff out because they've started really, really poorly to start off the LCS?
But it's still early to go even deeper into the LCS. We've got Azael joining us in just a few, but before that, let's talk about the highlights from Week 3.
And Blabber, exclamation point over his head. There's Crown found out. Flashes puts up a shield. It's not gonna be enough. You don't ban players. My Dokla, he's gonna try to get away. Second ult is available. Pops in. One more hit will kill. Trying to kite. He's trying to kite.
GP ult over top when you have multiple melee members. You know, there's 4 melee on the side of Cloud9 can be stacking into that. So you have to have a perfect game. They're looking for it.
They're gonna find a little bit of the front line. 2 kills instantly.
The last inhibitor is down. Last inhibitor turret.
Damage on the Crown. There's the first Sonya's Hourglass. How about the second one? That's the stopwatch. And that's a kill in a Dokla. 1 for 0. Cloud9 diving in towards Azael, making kill number 2. And the Guardian for number 3. There's that kill on Yumi. And this is all she wrote. It is over, and Cloud9 will tie first place. They will take the 4-1 record, knocking down the undefeated Optic.
Got his own Sheen. Smithy goes bottom. The punish the flash was big.
The knock-up, they get the damage, the root, and first blood. He's looking around, though. Smithy does have flash, as does the entire rest of his team, as they put damage on towards Big. No way out for him. The flash of the wall. What a spike steal for Smithy. Dokla takes massive damage at the very start of it all. Crown almost dead as well, and here comes JJ over the back. It's a double kill for double. The stun's gonna mean almost nothing. Big is gonna be run down. They've got the minions and a 4-2 record, a 2-0 week. Team Liquid will knock down Optic. Flash of the fight does go too well, but now outnumbered is Echo Fox. That's gonna be a great stun to land. Aurelia over the top now as well. Looks very solid. 1-0 onto Solo. Now changing for the second. They're gonna find that 100 Thieves showing signs of life. Bam! Again, the battle is in this time. The aggressive going over the top goes Pop. Blossom only finds a single stun. Now answered back, and the register over the top. It's 1 for 0, 100 Thieves. Look at the second they get it. Fake God is on the board yet again. How good is the Echo Fox cleanup crew? The stun is going to be found on the Solo. Never his Zonius is down. They have the damage. They have the dive. The shutdown comes in, and Rush will fall. And they might just do it, as somehow Echo Fox must defend 3 versus 5. Apollo barely alive, but the turrets are not, and neither is Rush. The turrets fall, the exit is open, and it's got to be a miracle defense. They're going to try to shut down these kills as they keep going for more. The Nexus will fall, and 100 Thieves are on the board.
Broken Blade has Tabbies plus this Bomby Cinder. That's all you need. You just start walking him. You really can't just outstab him.
Go for it! Bring down the hammer! It's a numbers advantage for Cloud9. They'll look to turn things back around, but Niski's gonna be exploded. Jerkson gets himself away, but Sneaky's made his way into the fight. Greg now looking to find the stun, able to grab one down. Now Scared having to get himself away, can't do it. Nope, we got ourselves a fight, and that's gonna be a big pull coming out from Greg on Azael, who's still somehow gonna be kept alive, getting himself away. Scared gonna be fighting Jerkson off the side. Greg gonna be killed now by Cloud9. Liquor's taken very low into the back line. He goes. Not quite able to find the damage onto Sven, who goes on a killing spree, killing that enemy top laner. Sven scaring into the hourglass. Not gonna be kept alive too much longer, except he will. It's a kill for Broken Blade on Azael. TSM's got a quad. against many people's expectations, TSM will take down Cloud9 yet again.
There's no more perfection. There's no more winless. It's safe to say it was a wild week in the LCS. Who better to help us break it all down than LCS caster Azael? How's it going?
Going very well. Thank you very much.
Before we get right into the League of Legends action, we got to give you a big congrats. You're engaged, right?
Yeah. I just
How
got
is the engaged life going?
It's going really well. Very happy. Joanna and I are very happy. We've been dating for a long time, so yep, everything's good.
Awesome. Tell the missus hi from us.
That's right.
I will. Thank you.
All right.
Enough of this engaged nonsense. Congratulations for real, but let's move on to the LCS because we got to start with Optic. They started out a perfect 4-0, but then they ran into two top teams in Team Liquid and Cloud9. So now we've seen them go against a couple of the best teams in the LCS. Where do you rank Optic Gaming?
So I don't think Optic is number one. As they were sitting at 4-0, some people were talking about, they're the best team in the league. A lot of that I do think was still strength of schedule, but we did see them have, especially against Team Liquid, an extremely close game. That game to me came down to probably the Baron steal from Smithy. Like that could have been the difference right there, and that was a situation where Optic had 3 pink wards and a sweeper available and didn't actually clear the ward that was in the Baron pit. So like that's a mistake you don't often see at pro level. So like they were very competitive with TL though in a long macro game. This was like not a cheesy win. This was nothing crazy. So I think Optic is solidly a playoff team with room to grow, and I think that's like really exciting improvement from spring.
Yeah, lapses like that are also a little weird because they've shown such great macro through the first 2 weeks. And Crown looks on top of his game as well. So, how do you think this team has evolved so much in the offseason to all of a sudden become a team that people are looking at to be a playoff team and just compete with guys like Team Liquid in such a close manner?
I think it is somewhat like they seem to be more on the same page this split. We heard a lot last split about how, Meteos and Big, those were the two guys that were kind of doing the shot calling, but like not always agreeing, not always on the same page. And it feels like they are more on the same page now. They've kind of like worked out a system where they are communicating better. I think Crown is performing incredibly well. I think Meteos has been having like an absolutely amazing season. So kind of their 2 stars are performing really, really well. And it feels like the team is kind of stepping up around them. I think that, a lot of their wins, like with Doko playing tanks, I think that more kind of suits the style that they want to play, allowing Crown to be more of the kind of focal point of the team. And that's what they had done in a lot of their wins. So, it is certainly a team effort. And I think it's more about like the improvements they've made in communication and play style.
We'll see if they can continue to get some wins as we go forward. We got to talk about Team Liquid because they got their first 2-0 week of the summer, but they are kind of looking shaky still. So why do you think their performance is kind of unstable right now?
So I've talked to a lot of the TL guys, and in some of their content, you'll also see it. Some of their interviews, even they were tired after MSI. It's something where if you go all the way to finals, then like the split starts the next week, basically, right? Like there's not actually a lot of time to kind of go on break. MSI is also a different patch than what Summer Split is. So, a lot of the other teams that didn't make it to MSI, they were already grinding on the current patch, preparing for the season, where Liquid is playing on a previous patch. They come home, they're burned out, they're tired. And I think a lot of those guys just wanted to take a little bit of a step back and reset before Summer. Their focus is certainly on Worlds, is certainly on, winning NA. And I think that, they wanted to take some time to kind of chill out, in the first week or two. I think they were hoping that they could still win all the games doing that. It didn't end up being the case. So, after their 2-2 start, I think they really have buckled down and are grinding hard again. And I think, we're kind of seeing some of the results of that, with their 2-0 win last weekend, and I'm expecting them to continue ramping up, throughout the season.
So how long do you think this hangover effect is going to last for? Because there's not really a break coming up either. They go from the LCS to Rift Rivals back to the LCS, and then they finally get a bit of time off for Worlds. So do you think they can kind of shake this with everything that's going on around Team Liquid, like explicitly?
Yeah, I think so. I think that they did already take some time off, right? And I think that was kind of the result of them losing a couple of those games at the start was from them, not grinding solo queue, not doing some of this. So they have taken a bit of a break, and I think, that hopefully will, be more than enough for them. They looked a lot better this weekend, and as I said, I do think that they are, back in kind of the full swing of things as far as practice goes. I know they're grinding solo queue again, and that really is what it takes to kind of compete at the top level. So I think they should be fine, and I'm excited to see, next week and then going into Rift Rivals, as you say, how they're going to perform.
Yeah, but speaking of burnout, I feel like a lot of people like talk about players, but what about like casters and even audience burnout, right? Like, do you feel tired too covering all these events back to back? Like, how does burnout affect you guys and I guess audience too?
I mean, I think for audience, you know, it's a pretty easy thing. Like if you're not enjoying it, you don't watch, and then when you want to watch, you watch again, right? You know, it's a pretty simple thing. I think for casters, you know, most of us, well, I would say probably all of us, you get into it because you love the game and you're really invested in it. So you know, burnout isn't as big of a deal because we are so invested in what we are doing. I would say though that yeah, like you know, at the end of a long Worlds run, you know, when we spent like 6 weeks in China in the past, people are definitely tired and looking forward to having some time off. At the end of MSI, you know, I did everything from play-ins to finals. I was definitely tired, but I got to have a week off after, which was really nice, and I didn't have to do collegiate. So, you know, that allowed me to kind of have a week to sleep a lot and chill a lot. And, you know, like for me, resetting is often, you know, spending a lot of time like outdoors or playing some different games and things. And then I always get the itch again to be like, okay, it's time to go back to League. I want to play.
Good. Self-care is important, guys.
That's right.
Never forget. Azael, it finally happened. We have to talk about it. 100 Thieves got their first win, and they did it without Sunday and with Ryu starting in the mid lane. How did you think the roster changes helped them win this?
I mean, it seems like, you know, from what they had said, this is kind of the permutation of the team that is working the best. Is also really interesting. You know, I was really surprised that roster doesn't have Someday, right? Because I think that a lot of people were looking at it and saying Someday was the best individual performer, especially in spring, where he was having a lot of monster performances, even in losses. So it's interesting to see Fake God coming in. I think he's performed well. You know, that was like his first LCS win that he just got, which is really cool. I think, you know, Ryu, kind of what he brings is, I think he's a more proactive, more aggressive player than Saligo, and that's I think one of the things maybe the team was kind of missing. And even in their loss on Saturday, I felt like they were playing a lot more aggressively. They were at least like trading kills, and it looked like they had, you know, some kind of life in them basically. You know, they weren't just sitting back and playing super passive. So I'm pretty excited to see that they are at least making some improvements, but that the reality is it's still just over Echo Fox, who's another team that's sitting at 1-5. Right. So they still have a lot of room to grow and a lot of work to do, I think, especially given the base expectations for these teams when they brought in so many stars and you know, they've been 10th for so long. And it's not even that they start 0-5. They had lost a good 5-6 games in a row at the end of spring. So they were on like a 10-11 game winning streak, or rather losing streak. So it's been a while since they won a game.
I mean, yeah, it must feel good to finally get that win off.
They were popping off, yeah.
Especially if you're amazing after you come over and the struggles of the opening week. But also, I mean, the 100 Thieves would love to get all of their stars in the lineup, right? They'd love to get Someday and Ryu, Bang. They'd all want to be on that starting roster, but of course that's not possible with the whole import situation. So do you think they'll continue with the starting lineup of Ryu and Fake God, or are they going to get some changes to put Someday back in and bring Ryu back out?
It's hard to say, right? I think clearly they're willing to try anything at this point, and I think it's going to be probably mostly just based off scrim results. You know, if Fake God is performing better in scrims, regardless of kind of the reputation or history of the players, I think they're going to be willing to go with that, because clearly star power has not been buying them wins, right? You know, you would have thought that with Someday and with bringing in Bang, like, you know, it's a year ago, 100 Thieves were at Worlds. They were in the finals in spring. You know, they started out so successful, and it feels to me like ever since letting go of Medios, it has been a bit downhill for them. But, you know, when you compare those two rosters, you're like, okay, well, Amazing and Medios, a lot of people on paper would have thought would be pretty comparable, and then you're bringing in, you know, 3-time world champion with Bang in place of where Cody-san was, and so people were thinking like, on paper this team should be really good, right? But clearly it's just not meshing together, and I think, you know, at that point you just have to kind of throw everything out the window and say, all right, like, destroy all preconceived notions, what actually works, and I think that's why they're running with Fake God. So if he continues winning in scrims, I expect them just to continue playing with him.
Right,
there you go. Maybe, but next time they got to be a team better than Echo Fox.
Yeah.
That's the next step.
Okay.
Win number 2 is coming up.
Slow steps. Okay, it can happen. Let's talk about. Oh, you were casting another game this weekend in the epic history of TSM versus Cloud9, the rivalry. And just like in spring split semis, TSM came out on top. There were some really close fights, right?
Yes.
But TSM did hold on. How did they manage to get another notch in their belt against C9?
That was a pretty crazy game. I mean, they drafted such different compositions. Like C9, I think that their comp certainly could have won the game, but it felt like it was so much more difficult to execute on because they're drafting like a full physical damage team fight comp. They have, multiple tanks on the other side. They have 4 champions with dashes against Poppy who can interrupt and block those dashes. So I think that there was a lot of things that made TSM, I think, really, really effective in the 5v5, and Cloud9 would have had to play like a more effective kind of, split push style of game. I think that became very difficult when they fell behind early, because then, this team that is so strong in 5v5 can dictate the pace of the game, can look for engages. But, it was actually a really, really close game. I was very impressed with how Cloud9 was executing in a lot of these fights. But, TSM, it really just took that one fight in mid lane. We were like 30-something minutes in. They get one really good team fight. They are able to actually, take that down. Sven got the quadra, and they just straight up ended the game off that. And it's really interesting to see, how Cloud9 is so willing to, I think, draft these more complex compositions and kind of more difficult to pull off strategies, because I think they can be really, really powerful if you can execute at that level. But it does mean that, if you make any sort of mistakes, you're going to lose, right? And I think that that's one of the reasons, though, that people love watching Cloud9. I think it's also one of the reasons taking those risks is why they're often good internationally. So, TSM certainly came out on top, and I think they played really, really well. But, it's also fun to see Cloud9 doing something different with the Gragas Yasuo.
Yeah, and we've been talking about, the whole Grig Acadian jungle duo for a while, but now this week they went Grig both games in the jungle. So is this a sign that they've started to favor Grig as their starter, or do you think Acadian's going to get some more chances down the road still?
I feel like it's probably Grig now. I mean, I think especially, based on the fact that Grig had been having more success, a lot of people had talked about, Grig has had more success, but he had kind of the easier opponents, and Acadian had been playing against the tougher teams. Right. Now I think that's certainly no longer the case. C9 TSM is a huge matchup for like standings implications, for strength of the team implications. The fans are always so hyped up about it, and the fact that Grig, won on Saturday, and then they kept him in for, a really tough match. That's going to be a big deal for them on Sunday as well. And he also, was able to get the win there. I think, really kind of spoke a lot to the confidence they had in him. And, I'm certainly expecting that they're going to continue moving forward with Grig, because from what I have heard, around the team is that they wanted to settle on someone and really devote all their scrims and all their practice to one of those players to kind of really buckle down. So you would think after that sort of a result that they would be going with Grig.
Yeah, as a player, it's nice to hear that the team has faith in you and they want to play you often, right? Let's talk about another player, Blabber, because we only saw Cloud9 use Blabber twice in spring, but then they used him in their win against Optic this week. What situations do you think they elect to use Blabber?
It's interesting because, I mean, when it came out on Saturday, I was willing to say, oh, okay, it's because of the Gragas Yasuo, right? And that's something that they actually play in Academy a lot for C9 Academy, and that's a combo that they use really, really well there. Blabber and Golden Glue do it. Blabber has also done it with Jukes, their top laner. So, that's a situation where you're like, okay, he has more experience running that sort of composition. That's probably why they brought him in. But then they just did the same thing with Svenskeren on Sunday. So now I think it's more just, one of those situations where I think they're trying to reward a player for good performance, and it can be a situation where it's like, I mean, Cloud9 in the past, did use Blabber pretty actively, used Golden Glue pretty actively. It feels like they have also moved away from that, but I do think some of the teams, when the players are performing really, really well in Academy, also want to reward them with stage time and kind of, allow them to have a chance there too.
Yeah, I want to touch on CLG a little bit too, because they had a disaster of a spring split, but then they brought in Ruin, and all of a sudden they're 4-2 with wins over Team Liquid and the Golden Guardians. So has faith been restored again, or do you think there's still problems to fix from spring?
I mean, I think there's always still some problems to fix. I think that, it's certainly looking a lot better. I think, that is very exciting. But CLG, even in spring, they finished like 7th. They were, a game or two out of playoffs. And, it's interesting because I felt like a lot of their issues, with actually missing playoffs came from some of the roster moves that they did during the season. They played their Academy team, I want to say 4 or 5 games, and they didn't win a single game with their Academy team on stage in spring, right? So, when you're only 1 or 2 games out of playoffs and your main lineup is doing so much better than your Academy team, but you keep playing your Academy team, they keep losing, that I kind of had some issues with, and I think that their coaching staff have maybe let them down a little bit in that regard in spring. That being said, the team certainly does look stronger here in summer. I think that, Bifrost and 6A are performing better in the bot lane. I think Wiggly has really stepped up. Ruin just looks like an upgrade over Darshan. He's been playing really well. So it feels like, it's not just that they're in this 6-way tie for first. It's like, well, you actually just look better, right? Like you were performing better, especially the game against Team Liquid. I thought was really impressive. So I think it's kind of an exciting time right now for Counter Logic Gaming, which probably means that they're about to tank.
It's so true. It's so true.
It's always the opposite, right? As soon as people start to believe they're going to do terrible, so you gotta be like, no, they're going to be last place. They're but we'll see how they do. I think it's looking pretty good for CLG.
No, Faith Age, the new era. Faith Age is back. Don't. All right, you brought it up. There's a 6-way tie for first right now, and we want you to call it. Are these the 6 teams that you think will make it to playoffs?
I think it's tough. I think it wouldn't shock me by any means, but I also think that like FlyQuest, it's really surprising to see them doing so poorly out the gate. So I am kind of expecting FlyQuest to bounce back. They have so many veteran players. They were a very strong team making top 4 in spring. They didn't change any of their roster, so it feels really weird to me to see FlyQuest sitting at 1-4. I am expecting them to make some major improvements, and I do think that towards the end of the split we are going to be seeing like FlyQuest, Clutch, and some of these teams still battling for that kind of final playoff spot. So I don't think it's super clear cut, but also all the top 6 teams, like they have certainly kind of separated themselves from the rest of the pack, and wouldn't be shocking to see them making top 6 out of there.
Alrighty, right there, Azael. Thank you so much for joining us today to chat about LCS. All the best and enjoy the rest of the summer split. All right, now Matt, we got to jump over to Europe and talk about G2. But before that, why don't we get caught up with some highlights?
Flash forward, red buff applied. Dance of Arrows is available for Kira in just a moment. Cadril goes down to Misfit sub Kira.
Maybe go for a gank, but Kire's going to spawn him out. No flash.
Oh my word, Lamb and Wolf are chasing down. The bite, the dance, the arrows. That's really bold. Realmwalk will get interrupted. That's the sliding glide. Featherman sets it up for Kira to get his 4th and 5th. Excel, what do you have left? They're not looking for the fight yet. Emperor's Divide, that catches out Cadril. Killing spree for Hansama. Some looking for the kill, some looking for the Nexus. Mickey goes down 0-5-2 for his LEC debut. And Misfits take down Excel.
Here, the on the hunt used, the enchanted crystal arrow only connects onto Noska, and he has QSS. Teleport coming in here from Chachi as well. It's going to be a 5v5 in the mid lane, and Chachi is in the perfect position to open up with a maelstrom of death. Splice just turned this fight right around on Schalke. Schalke wanted the team fight, and Abadage maybe has done enough on the backline. Oh my goodness! Abadage with the double. It looked like Splice had it, but Schalke somehow find the fight. But look at how low Kobe is. It's devoured. Noskaven's going to spit him out. Just take the Nexus, Schalke. They may have thrown it in the final moments. It's on upset. Uses the shield. Is in the GA.
That's a triple.
Schalke could have just taken the Nexus, and upset will do it in the end. Schalke takes Spice to the late game, and in the end, they take the win. Predator in, Whipper with a flash, Taunt, Hillitang flashes in as well, looking for the chase as Nukeduck tries to get away, but the Grand Entrance will knock him back in his first blood to Hillitang. Barry's going to be jumped on. There comes Whipper as well with the Stand United, and Fnatic is just looking for the one punch done. Brilliant cast gets used, Cold goes in, can't get it. Alvari looking for the slicing master straight onto the back line. Cold is on the front line as Boxer goes down, Patrick takes him out. Now Patrick with the Featherstorm, Whipper with a perfect taunt, but the stopwatch is out. Nukeduck needs to do a lot in this fight because Nemesis is shredding through Origin. There is no escape. There is no surviving. Fnatic clean sweep Origin. Fnatic, after being behind the majority of the game, strike back, find their team fight, and take down Origin.
Coming in as well, Jackshall and Attila are already being targeted. That's a double root, but it's already a dead bird. And Wonder is now picking a fight with the help of Yuumi. Here she comes with a death from below, delivered onto Cabashard. Mowgli as well. That's one prowling projectile. That was an invisible pipe. Chrono Break comes out, and now just Zuke will be locked down, stunned up, dead from below. How much of this is bordering on the line of griefing. Finally, the Nexus will be focused, and G2 will face Fnatic next week.
Another crazy week in the LEC sees 2 undefeated teams sit on top of the standings. Matt, let's talk about the standings. Let's bring it up. And were there any surprises?
I mean, Vitality is one team that's kind of shocking, right? Because they're sitting there at the bottom at 0-4 next to Excel, which you'd think Vitality is pretty far away above Excel, right? But Vitality has just looked so rough, and they've got inconsistency in their bot lane. Jizuke is not playing on top of his game right now, and it's weird to see a team that was so aggressive and so not dominant, but they were like one of those teams in 4th or 5th that you're like, okay, if we beat Vitality, then we're probably a playoff team and we're going to do some damage. But they've just looked so rough. And then in the middle, there's 6 teams tied at 2-2, which is nuts because there's going to be a huge like disparity as we keep going forward. But right now, it's just like, okay, is Misfits actually a decent team? Is Origin really like in the middle of the pack? Realistically, probably not. But based on schedule and stuff like that, there's just a lot going on.
So, I mean, it's still really early to tell. So let's talk about G2 first.
Yes.
Because G2 continues to surprise with crazy compositions, which shouldn't be a surprise anymore, but yet somehow we're still surprised. Against Vitality, we see Perks in the bot lane, right? So tell me about how the weekend played out for them.
So you know, they always pick Pyke. We're used to Pyke. But this time, it was not Caps, not Wonder. It was Perks in the bot lane, playing the Pyke with Yuumi next to him. And Yuumi hasn't won a game yet in the LEC, but together with the Pyke, it's actually a pretty crazy combo because, you know, when Pyke goes invisible and swims underwater, so does Yuumi. So you can kind of sneak up on people and make this skirmishy, pick-oriented comp work, and they were just all over the map. Like, anytime we see G2 with Pyke, they're always roaming around, but now you add an extra element of bringing Yuumi in with it, and it's just pretty crazy. And again, the creativity with this stuff is wild, and they keep making it changes. When G2 picks Pyke, you're like, okay, is that mid? Is it top? Is it bot? It's just so hard to draft against, right? So another wrinkle.
Totally. So Fnatic is the other team that's undefeated, and they actually play against G2 in week 3. So how do you see this matchup playing out? I
mean, Fnatic looked, again, they look really strong. It's the age-old story in the LEC and in EU, right? It's Fnatic versus G2. Who's going to be the kings of Europe this time? It's always one of the two. I did like some of Fnatic's creativity as well in this week. Again, they just for matchup sake, they actually moved Whippo and Shen into the mid lane. And you know, Shen is not a mid laner, but just to get a better matchup and avoid the cannon from the other team, they made that adjustment. So I kind of like what they're doing as well. They're also ran you know, some other unique champions. So it looks like they're trying to kind of adapt to what G2 is doing, which is more creativity, try to surprise people, and just expand their champion pool. Might not happen with Reckless. I don't think he's going to play Pyke anytime soon, because you know, Reckless is more of a standard AD carry. But I think.
Hello.
Oh yeah, we've seen that so recently, Lisa.
Put some respect on
we've seen
Kennen.
that really recently. But yeah, I think that might help them. But at the end of the day, G2 just looks so on top of everyone else right now, and they keep expanding what they can do. So I think it's still
There's
G2.
no limits for them.
There's not.
Let's talk about Misfits now, because last week we talked about their 10-man roster, and we also saw Kirei, right, play for the first time this week. So how did you think they did?
Yeah, I mean, there's been talk about their 10-man roster, and now after, you know, we finally get to see it in action with Kirei being kind of the star guy they brought over. When everyone saw that Kirei came over from Fenerbahce, they're like, oh, okay, what's happening with Maxlore? And he just came in and was so aggressive this week. With Kindred, he was like flashing forward. And Kindred's not a tank champion, right? So it's a little scary, but he was just getting up in people's faces. Once they got an early lead, he just kept pushing it, kept getting those stacks, and eventually he had 7 kills with no deaths. So very impressed by him.
Is he what the team needs, you think?
I think so. It just gives him life. Okay. It looks like he's on top of his game. They went 1-1 this week with a tough loss against like a better team, but I was still very impressed by Kirei, and I think he's gonna maybe eventually just win that starting job away from Maxlore.
Ooh.
We'll see.
Oh, sad for Maxlore, but you know, the team is climbing up, which is always good. Let's talk about Excel now, because we saw Mickey play. How did you think they did?
Well, again, they're 0-4, so not well. But they managed 6 kills and 1 tower in week 2. That's in 2 games, so that's terrible, right? That's really bad. They were like scuffed dives. They were just not taking priority in the early game and kind of sitting back. And when they did take aggression, it didn't go well. And obviously, I mean, Mickey's first week, they brought in Kjarnan, so it's gonna take time to get this roster back together. But the moves that they made aren't like, oh my God, this is gonna totally revamp this roster and make them compete against G2, right? Like Mickey didn't exactly perform super well with the Golden Guardians. Kjarnan missed the spring split because no one wanted to pick him up. So we'll see if this roster can come together with more time, but obviously they start 0-4. they don't have high expectations already.
They should look towards next year.
Sure.
Most likely.
2020. Great year.
2020
That's
could be their year. Okay,
Yeah.
Matt, now it's time to pick your player of the week. And if you give it to Crown again, I'm going to get mad at you. Who are you giving it to this week?
I won't give it to a player on a team that went 0-2. I swear to God.
Okay, good.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to Hillisang from Fnatic. He was, he's kind of hit or miss sometimes. When he's off, he's kind of inting, but when he's on, he's just making plays on supports. And this time he had Rakan and Pyke, two incredibly big playmaking supports. And I think he was another reason why, along with Broxah, that this team kind of continues to push the boundaries. And whenever there's an aggressive push, it's always Hillisang leading the charge, making the big play happen. And sometimes Reckless gets credit for the kills, and Caps get credit because he makes these flashy mechanical plays. But under all of that, it's Hillisang with just the smooth, cool, calm, aggressive plays that set everything up.
Yeah. Give the support some love, guys.
I know. They deserve some Player of the Weeks every now and then.
Right? All right. So congrats to Hillisang for being our Player of the Week. That's it for today's Esports in 30. Thanks to Azael as well for joining us today to chat LCS. Make sure to tune in tomorrow because AJ and Ron will be going over another week of the Overwatch League. Until then, head over to all our socials at Squad State. We'll see you tomorrow.
Matt and Lisa will be back next week to keep us up to date on everything from the LCS. But till then, tune in tomorrow because we go live at 1 p.m. with gameplay live from the green room. Then again, at 8 p.m. Eastern, we have more Unmuted. And in Esports in 30, AJ and Ron are back to talk OWL Stage 3, Week 2. Till then, get your daily dose of us on our socials at Squad State and check out our YouTube channel for all the VODs in case you missed anything. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.